Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. I am very happy to see the beautifully spruced Karen Bashford there in the virtual studio, the so-called empowerment mentor. And today we're talking about a topic which may trigger some of you. So I'm warning you now. And the question we're asking is, do you self-sabotage your relationship? Now, last week, we were talking about a topic which is vaguely allied to, well, it's very much allied to it, which was about, well, in fact, I'm going to hand the baton straight over to you, Karen. You do this far better than I do. What was the relationship between this week's topic and last week, and why are we talking about it this week?
Okay, well, the relationship between the two last week and this week is very much about you as a person and the behaviors, habits, and beliefs that you have that will self-sabotage your life. Last week, we spoke about health and how we unintentionally damage our health and harm ourselves because of self-sabotage that we're not even necessarily aware we're doing. This week is about relationships, and the first relationship is with yourself. And if you're self-sabotaging, you're going to be damaging your relationship, but the relationship you have with anyone else.
Now, in 1980s parlance, there was that expression, if you can't love yourself, how can you love anybody else? And I'm led to believe there's quite a lot of truth in that.
Very much so, yeah. I didn't realise how much damage I was doing to myself with the relationships I'd attracted to me because I didn't know I didn't love myself.
So, in many ways, I suspect the people you attract to you are kind of like a product of how you see yourself. So if you see yourself as toxic and bad and the rest of it, that's probably what you attract into your life to match it.
Yeah, the thing is, you don't see yourself as toxic. You just see yourself as being you. Little realizing all the behaviors you've created have come from events that have happened in your life or what you've been taught and shown by your parents, influencers, teachers, even religion. It all has an impact on you and what you believe about yourself. The belief that you have that you are lovable, worthy, and that you deserve abundance. If that's not there, then you're not likely to be very happy in your life because you'll be repeating behaviors, you're bringing people to you that are going to be hurting you, harming you. You've got to be aware of what you believe about yourself to be able to create the relationship with yourself that then brings the right people to you, the loving people, the caring people, the ones that are willing to help and support you, rather than the ones that unintentionally sometimes, but other times intentionally harm you.
Gosh, it just seems like a road full of potholes.
It is.
How do you get to the point where you can see yourself not as damaged, but as somebody who's lovable and complete and just wants to attract people of the same mind? How do you get there?
Well, it's taken me 60 plus years to get to the point where I'm now
I
in
haven't
that.
got that long.
Yeah. But don't forget, that means I hadn't done enough of the inner work because the inner work is what is required. So basically, you've got to understand yourself, you've got to know yourself, you've got to find all those lies that you've been telling yourself over the years that everything's fine, that it's just how it is, or what you're not even aware of. Like, I wasn't aware that my mother and father did not tell me they loved me or hugged me. It was just so natural.
Well, it becomes normalized, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if you're not aware of something that's now normalized, how can you make a change?
Well, exactly. You wouldn't know what to change to or from because it's what you expect. But so are you saying that we need to increase the expectations for what we need as far as love, affection?
Yeah. We have to know ourselves to appreciate what we're doing to ourselves that we need to change. If you don't know yourself, how do you know that you love yourself or not? You might be doing things that supposedly show that you love yourself, But what you're thinking and what you're actually doing are two separate things. So you could be going and spending time in nature, you could be going to the spa, you could be spending time with friends. But that does not mean to say you're loving yourself to the point where it's just something you naturally know you need to do. You're having to plan it, or you've been invited out with friends or something like that. So it happens that way. But for me, in loving myself the way I do now, it allows me to hear the voices that say to me, Karen, it's time to give some love to yourself. Go and have a spa. Or Karen, time to go and have a massage. Your back is starting to hurt you again. It's having that inner knowledge, knowing and acceptance that you can listen to yourself because you love yourself and you won't be lying to yourself.
A lot of people, I think, in my age group are used to putting up with stuff. So rather than attending the sore back or the feeling of loneliness or maybe the feeling of desperation or whatever, instead of looking at that and saying, what's causing this, or what can I do about it, they sort of just stiff upper lip, just get on with it. And I think that I think we're now hitting that point where voices like yours who are saying, hang on a moment, you don't have to put up with that rubbish. I think that voices like yours are starting to break through because we're getting to the point where people realize you can actually lead a better life. You can.
Oh, God. Yeah. Absolutely. My life is so totally different now to what it was even 18 months ago because I took the time. I had to take the time because of a nervous breakdown, but that's what your body will do.
That's your body.
Will reach.
That's your body digging its heels and saying,
yeah,
up with this, I will not put.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So where I am now, I've got people saying to me, oh my God, Karen, when I first got to know you, you were so miserable. You never smiled. You were never, you interacted, but you didn't interact.
Dare I say it, when we first met, you weren't the happiest of bunnies. And the person I see now, who is constantly, you've got this glow of happiness around you pretty much. Well, every time I see you, I'm assuming there are probably times where you're a bit ticked off with the world, but at the moment you seem pretty much on the up all the time. And I suspect that's down to work you did, right?
Yeah.
So I suppose learning from your own example, you can, I don't like the word fix, but you can adjust your own attitude to yourself. And I think that's probably what you're meaning in the first place, is that you're saying, guys, that you can like yourself, you know.
Yeah. Well, it starts with liking yourself. If you can actually like yourself, you can then start taking action. That means that you start to learn to love yourself, because love is everything. We are born with love, basically. So why can't we love ourselves?
It's frustrating because I think we aren't encouraged to necessarily think positively about ourselves. We are told to be modest at all times, to try and hold it all in, to not rattle on about what we're trying to achieve or what our achievements have been. So it kind of does go against the grain to then say, take care of yourself, doesn't it, really?
Well, that's the trouble. We've allowed society or the government and everyone else who dictates to us basically how we should be behaving.
Right.
We followed that. But now it's time to actually wake up to the fact that we have to be responsible for ourselves. If we're not prepared to be responsible for ourselves, what's the point of us being here? Sorry, yeah. It's a bit of a tough one.
It's difficult because when you've done things or been brought up, dare I say it, within a society that has certain expectations on you, and that you constantly feel you're not matching up to those lofty expectations, it's quite easy, I suspect, to slip onto that slope of self-doubt, self-loathing, and endless misery. And it's climb out of that hole when it feels like all the sides are greased it must be so hard. I mean, I'm very lucky. Um, I'm very lucky. Through some relationships I found, I got reflection back of the fact that I was worthwhile, and people, I was likable, and there were facets about what I do that are useful, etc., etc. But not everybody is lucky enough to have those kind of friends and family and colleagues.
I totally
So,
agree with you, and absolutely. But there's other ways of doing things other than relying on other people to help you.
right, that's what I was alluding to.
Yeah, so much more. You can go, my new website goes live this week, hopefully.
Hooray!
By next week it will definitely be live. There's loads of stuff on there that starts you on that journey.
Right.
To actually start to like yourself and love yourself. There's YouTube. There's so many people on YouTube talking about how you need to self-love and what you can do to learn to self-love. There's so much available. There's books galore. And they all provide information that will help you start to understand how you can self-love, how you can actually get to the point where you don't look at yourself in the mirror and think, oh my God, you're disgusting.
So we're talking today very much about self-sabotage, but very specifically, I want people to realize that one of the easiest ways to get in touch with him, perhaps to get some more information, would be to find Karen on LinkedIn. She's active there, and more importantly, it is the secondary place outside of the new website where you'll be able to find information out. But what I was going to say, is there any tips that we can give people right now, little tips that will help them just lift themselves back to realizing they aren't the bad person, they are worthwhile, they can forge forward? What do you think?
Definitely. First one would be to actually look in the mirror and look at yourself and realize, despite all the imperfections you're seeing, there's a beautiful person inside, your inner child, who knows exactly what you're capable of, who you need to be, and will help you achieve that.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
guess
first point.
the inner child doesn't know of any limitations. All it
No,
sees is limitless potential, right?
yeah, that life is worth living, that it should be happy, it should be abundant. There's no reason why you can't be happy. That's an internal job. It's not reliant on somebody else saying to you, oh, you look good, or oh, well done, you've done this. This is very much about what you believe about yourself. Start looking at the things you say to yourself.
Gosh, yes.
Oh my God, how much negativity do we throw at ourselves every day? Why?
One
There's
of
no
my
reason to.
one of my good friends, Jalpa, who's also a client, she was talking to me and saying things like, "Well, I would do this course, but I'll fail it, of course." And I was
Oh God.
going, "What? You can't say that. That's so sad."
Why would you think you're going to fail something? If you set that
No,
intention, you
no,
can
no.
get
She's
anything
she's
done.
a like you. She's a magnificent human,
Good.
and she should see herself as that. Um, but a lot of people seem to seek validation in the eyes of other people, and some of the people they seek that validation in are the ones that are unintentionally, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, unintentionally gaslighting them and making them think that they aren't capable of stuff. Why should they bother even starting?
Yeah,
That sort of nonsense.
yeah, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. If you're going to do something, you're either going to face your fear and get on with it, or otherwise you're going to think, oh, I can't do this. I'm not good enough for this. I'm going to fail it, as you say, and things like that. But actually, you need to start asking your questions. Why do I believe that's going to happen?
Especially
Because,
when there's no real evidence
yeah,
of that actually going to happen. The sky is not going to fall in. Your head isn't going to suddenly spontaneously roll off your shoulders.
yeah,
you you are capable, and I just wish people would let themselves be great.
yeah. It'd be wonderful to see, because that world would be so much better.
Well, look, it's as ever wonderful. Our weekly chats, by the way, guys, aren't just to either brush up my ego or Karen's. They are for you guys to feel a bit inspired. And look, whether or not you contact Karen or not, we implore you to stop looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing limitations, and just see yourself as limitless. There is lots more to you than I think you allow yourself to see. Karen, thank you as ever for schooling me. I'm learning in each occasion more and more. I'm not naturally in this space, but I've allowed myself to be so because I trust Karen, and I believe you should too. Karen, thank you very much for your time. Everybody, I wish you a wonderful last couple of days of the week, and of course, wonderful mental health. Bye bye now.